Okay, we're learning Pardes Shlishi of Tomer Devorah. We're talking about the Keser of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which are the three higher levels: Keser, Chochma, and Bina, which are the three mitos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which are beyond us, literally beyond us. They're higher than what we can be masig in the spiros. We have a Hasogim, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hoy, Yisoid, Malchus. We can understand, but Keser we don't understand. We don't even try to understand, except for to understand that all of the spheros that are in this world, and the spheros that we have, if you will, are coming from this unknown place of Keser. So what we need to know is that nothing originates with us. Things come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's, we're talking about Chochma. Keser, we learned Chochma. Chochma comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Marabu Masech Hashem Kulam B'Chochma Asisa. So there's a tremendous amount of Chochma in the Bria. We learned that Kabbalistically, Chochma does not refer to wisdom as we normally translate it, or knowledge, or Chochma is something different. Chochma is a thing, a stream, which starts from the Keser and works its way through the entire Bria. Look at it as water. Look at it as light. But don't look at it as wisdom. There's a certain aura that comes from the Keser, and it sheds its light on everything in the Bria. What's so vital to understand about this, and that's why I keep on saying it, is that, you know, if we take the mashal of or, so or is only as relevant as that which it is reflecting off of. So there's gavonim in Kabbalah, which means colors. Different things will reflect the same or in different ways. Different people will reflect the same or in different ways. So the Bria, if you will, is a sort of a somos yeveshos. So it's like it's a dry thing, but the animation of the or is what gives it color and which gives it light and gives it energy. In my newer mashal, more up-to-date mashal than Mekubalim talk about or, if you talk about current, like thinking about electrical current, so it also has no particular mashmais, or even more updated is like Wi-Fi. It's all over the place, scary, right?
Ouch.
Yes, but it's only as good as the machshir, which is being makabel. So if you have a smartphone, the Wi-Fi will do one thing. If you have a dumb phone, the Wi-Fi will do a different thing. If whatever, hakol lafi, you have a watch. Let's say, David, you have a watch yet? So
I'm behind the times.
Literally. It should be like a vital qualification for coming to Shiurim here. To have an Apple Watch. But the pshat is that the current does something different according to what the makabel is. So when we look at if you look at current, or you look at Wi-Fi, or you look at or even if you look at water, you're not talking about something unto itself. We're not talking about wisdom. We're talking because the wisdom will come up differently in every smartphone, right? So what we're talking about is a current. So the Chochma becomes something which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is anoising. Even the seed of man has no relevance unless it's niskabel by the bina, by the isha, and turns into something. Otherwise, it's nothing. Tipas rucha. It's a meaningless thing. It's and therefore wasted. But if once it has a makabel, so then according to that makabel, so this is true of everything in the bria. The whole bria works this way: the agricultural world, the biological world, the electrical world, the world of light. Everything works this exact same way. It's also to understand things like the speed of light and things like that. If we
Sound waves.
Sound waves. But the speed of light. What does that even mean? That's so that's what's vital to understand here. That Chochma is a thing. It's a current azah which comes into the world. So says the Tomer Devorah as follows: V'hinei, follow along with me. V'hinei ela Chochma shnei ponim. It's important to know that Chochma has two panim. What's the translation of panim?
Faces.
Facets. There you go. So a face happens to be called a panim. But what's the singular of panim?
No pun intended.
Panim is plural, right? So what's the singular of panim? A pun. A pun. Pun means an aspect in Hebrew. An aspect. Why the face is called a panim is another kasha, but that's just what it's called. But the word that we're talking about, let's go back a little bit, is to the word pun. So when we say something has two panim, it means that it has two puns, two aspects to it. Like there's a word in Hebrew, ofan.
Yeah.
Shnei oifanim.
Ofanim.
Right, ofanim b'chayis hakodesh, which is interesting. But an ofan, even in our world, in our intellectual world, an ofan means a way of looking at it, an aspect. Word from the word pun, fun, same word. Sometimes if it's in the middle of the word or at the beginning of the word. So, but that's what a pun is. So when we say about shnei punim, it doesn't mean, as the English translates this, as two faces. This is an incorrect. This is a correct translation. It means that there's two aspects to Chochma. Shnei panim l'Chochma. L'Chochma shnei panim. Pan echad, pan sheni.
So shivim panim l'Torah?
Shivim panim l'Torah has nothing to do with faces.
It's not the same time.
No. Nothing to do with faces. It's possible even that a panim doesn't even come from this word. That's already a drasha. You know.
Isn't face a reflection of panim, and also pan a reflection of the panim?
Panim has more to do with panim than it has to do with pan. But panim, pan. But so when we talk about Chochma, just to get the translation, Chochma shnei panim. There's two aspects to the Chochma of Hashem. That this energy that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving forth has two panim to it. Hapan ha'elyon hapoina el hakeser. So if you look at the Chochma has two parts to it. So normally, let's say you would take two cups and you put the two cups together. So now you have one big round hollow thing. But let's say you take the cups and you put them back to back like this. So now you have the pan ha'elyon, and like a satellite dish, right? It's a pan ha'elyon and the pan hatachton. So you need two parts to this. You need that which is receiving from above, and then transforming that chochma into the pan hatachton, which is giving forth to the lower spheros. So that's the pan ha'elyon and the pan hatachton. Everybody with me on this? Hapan ha'elyon, hapan el keser. Remember, it's keser, chochma, bina, the triangle, the segel, upside down segel. Keser is the closest thing. Keser is not Hashem. Keser is there's higher. This is already talking about in the bria, but in the bria, the part that we don't get is the Keser, where that's already transforming, as we learned from the world of Atzilus into this world of Asiya. But now taking from the Keser is the Pan Ha'elyon, is your first satellite dish of Chochma, which is coming in its makabel from the Keser Ha'elyon. And then, ve'ein oisam hapanim mistaklam lamata, this pan ha'elyon never turns down. Doesn't happen. Ella mikablim milamala is totally mikabel milamala. It's a mikabel. Hapan hasheni, second pan aspect of Chochma is hatachton, this one. Hapona. So one's like an antenna, and one's like a transmitter. So hapon hasheni hatachtoin pona lamata, and that's giving its energy down. Listen to this word lahashkiach, not to energize, but lahashkiach vasefiros. Shehi mispashetes b'chachmasa aleihem, which become full of the Chochma Elyonim. So there's this thing going on. We don't yet understand what this means altogether. I don't know if we ever will. But there's this thing that's going on, that the Chochma is coming from the Kesser. It's being miskabel into a world which has more gashmius to it, let's say. Not enough that we can understand it yet, but it's got some form to it. So it's coming from the Shemayim, if you will. And now it's coming down to the world of the Spheros, where we can begin to understand it.
So there can be no direct transmission from above to below.
There has to be a transformer.
It has to come through something.
It has to be transformed, which is the place. This is in here. This is the place of Tzimtzum. This is the place where things become from Ruchnius to Gashmius. This is the place where things go from Chochma Elyonim to Chochma Tachtoina.
What does it mean, Lashkiach?
So what does it mean, Lashkiach?
It sounds like
I'm just saying it doesn't say that it energizes. It's mashkiach. Basefiros shimis bashetes b'chachmasa aleihem, because this chachma spreads out and gives light and energy to all of the of its chachma, gives it to the spheros underneath it.
Are they connected? I mean, like there was this transfer from the upper one to the lower one?
Have to be connected.
Are they connected? One's giving to the other.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah. So it's a transformer, like a transformer. Transformer is taking from this, doing what it has to do to it to make it usable, and then giving it on to the next case. This concept is only important. It's just esoteric, but the concept is only important when you do what the Tomer Devorah does and relate it to the human condition. So what does that mean?
It sounds like the description you once gave of the Kisei Kavod. That's already different level, right?
Different place. What did I say about the Kisei
I
Kavod?
thought you also once said that that's the place where like things start turning from concepts into.
Listen. Everything is every one of the spheros and every one of the olamos are all transformers. And what that's there. What I mean by that is that we can't relate or do anything with infinity. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu is the Ein Sof. So the Ein Sof is above this all. The chap of the whole bria is like, which is pretty cool, is that we're taking a piece of infinity, or I don't even like. I mean, when they say you can't understand it, I agree. You're taking infinity and you're putting it into a kli. Not all of it, but because infinity, you can't take all of it and put it into a kli. But somehow or another, as the Baal HaTanya says, every part of Ein Sof is like a microcosm of Ein Sof. He says like every part of that which is physical has in it an unlimited quality. That's what he says in Parak Dalet, I think.
It's fractal.
Hmm?
It's fractal.
Yeah, that's a good word. Meaning like there's an infinite quality here. Call it the neshama if that makes it easier for you to understand. But the infinity goes down. It's not like something infinite became finite, but something infinite became somehow manageable and something only God can do. So this is the tzimtzum. How infinite can the finite become is already a big machlokes between the Baal HaTanya and the others. But this is what's happening. Everything's when you're going from the world of Atzilus to the world of Bria to the world of Yitzira to the world of Asiya. So like the Arizal says, each one of those things has two parts to it. Shnei panim, one which is makabel from the one above, and one which is noisen to the one below. The whole Parak Gimel of Nefesh HaChaim is based on this point. That everything has to.
Each one of the spheres has all of it in there.
That's right. So on the Pan Ha'elyon, and then now it's manifesting itself in a certain way. So I'm just saying this as a mashal, but the Goin says, I presume it's true. Everything the Goin says is true. The Goin says is true. But he says if you'll pull out a random hair out of your head, or if you're not so lucky, out of somewhere else. So if you pull out a random hair and you'll know how to look at it, you will see every part of the goof.
Well, that's like DNA.
Like a DNA. But he didn't know about DNA, right? But you'll see every part of the goof. You'll see every property of the goof. You'll see the health. You'll see how many vitamins you have, how many, everything. You'll see everything. It's even deeper than the DNA. But it's such an interesting thing. So today they have healers that do this type of thing. They say they do this type of thing. If they do or they don't. But there's people that could look, urology. They could look at your iris and just take a look at any piece of skin and or a blood test. So
There's
you
technology now is that there's a startup company in Israel that has a device you can take around with you wherever you go. And I don't know how it does. It looks into food, whatever. It tells you the nutrient content of the food, all kind of things like that. So it's seeing and everything.
Really?
Yeah.
It's spectrum analyzer.
Wow.
Let's invest.
That's cool.
Spectrum analyzer.
Hmm?
Spectrum analyzer.
The kashrus supervisor should use it. You can bring things down to their
You might
end.
find out that
Hooking it
all
up
this
with
Yeah, so I'm just saying it.
Hooking it up with the eye, what's it called?
The watch,
The
the
eye,
Apple Watch.
watch. So that it
We got through the watch already.
Huh?
What? What do you mean?
The eye watch. So this is hooked up through that.
Yeah, you came late. We had a whole discussion about this. And we're not going to let people into the shira without one come April 11th.
What's an iWatch? What's an iWatch?
That's the Mac, Apple just made a new watch,
Yeah.
so which does everything.
Tell time too?
Also,
Wow.
he when he introduced it, he said this also tells time. So it was like a chiddush.
You better go and get one.
Yeah. Can use that. I could use one of those. What it doesn't do is get you there on time. He said that there's still a part of the person which is
It's a
necessary.
bug in the system.
Okay, yeah, is that electrocuting you with the time comes? Okay, but I'm just saying this is a mashal. So everything in the oil and ha'elyon, in the pan ha'elyon, if you will, is unlimited. Once you transform it, you're giving it mashmos, but it's not such a difficult concept to understand, because just like you don't see light, it's kind of like there, but when it hits a surface, you can see what it's reflecting. So you are seeing the infinite and the finite, and those are the gavonim of the Sifrei Kabbalah that they're talking about. That are the gavonim. It's not such an impossible
Concept.
not so impossible.
I thought I remember learning how each sphere, actually, it's not just one and then the one below it, it's actually overlaps by a two. In other words, like the Kehillat Shivtei Yeshurun, that kind of idea.
That's like those spheres Homer
so,
stuff.
so you have that structure where there actually is that sphere, the upper part of the lower sphere, mamish in the higher sphere.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, I think that all of these descriptions are a struggle with trying to understand the connection from something more infinite to something more finite. But it's all limits. But what the Tomer Devorah is saying is, you look at two inverted cups, if you will. But whatever's happening, it's transforming. Penasheni hatachton poina lamata lashkiach basfira shimis bashpetas bechachmasa aleim. So now, what does this mean to us? Says the Tomer Devorah, kach yel el ha'adam. So fascinating. So we have to be godly in this way. Shnei panim, there should be two aspects to us, two aspects to our lives. Hapan harishon, like we look at it like there's two kinds of people. Like there's the wrestlers that are being boded in the fields, and what they're doing, I don't know. But and then there's the teachers, the hardcore teachers, the gashvis, do this, do that. This is all supposed to be one person, because a person should have two aspects to them, but which is not a schizophrenic thing. It's the healthy human condition. That on the one hand, I'm alone and I'm a makabel. I'm a makabel from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is so important. No matter what you do, you need your quiet time, if you will, your time of hispoidus, where this hispoidus, which is already mentioned here in the Ramak, he was from Sfas, so you have this hispoidus where I'm just alone with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I'm a makabel. And at that moment of Kabbalah, there is nothing underneath it, and it can be completely esoteric, and I could be makabel. A person has to do this. People, if you use your walking time, your tefillah time, your bustle, whatever you use, there has to be a part of our lives, because if you don't have that, then you just run dry. You know, a person, and this is a Mayan Hamiskaber, to be able to tap in. Like, forget about what you're giving, what you're getting. But if you're able to tap into this infinite source, I mean, just think about it, if you can. Like, so what happens is that I'm constantly being nourished with a certain. I think this is the essence of creativity. This is the essence of, like, there's new here. It's not old stuff. I'm not recycling. There's always something new. There's something new that one can get from Kadosh Baruch Hu, even after Matan Torah. Like, you'd think Torah would be, okay, that was it. And in a way it is it, because, you know, a Navi, Rashay L'Chadish Davar Me'ata, a Navi can't come up with a new halacha. In a certain way that was canonized. But there were Nevi'im after Matan Torah, and there is Ruach HaKodesh, and there's Tanoim and Amoraim. These were all generations, by the way, which did different things in terms of their hispoidus and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Nevi'im did one thing, the Tanoim did a different thing, Makabel. Besides for what they taught, the Amoraim did a different thing. The generation of Achronim did a different thing. There's a generation of Gedolim, which I feel like coming to an end of it. That's also a name. Gedolim. That was something you didn't hear about 150 years ago, I don't think, and you don't hear about too much anymore. But like we grew up with the generation of Gedolim. I don't know what's yet next. Next is us. So we need to be. There's this makabel, and they were all makabel. Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai.
He was the epitome.
Right. He was the epitome of the makabel,
right.
but Anshe Knesses Hagdoilu were makabel also.
It's Torah Shabbat Peh.
Which is Torah Shabbat Peh. That's Torah Shabbat Peh, and that's the beauty and the eternity and the infinity of Torah, that it keeps on going. And what's important here, though, is saying Chelkeinu b'Seirasach. That's what's very important over here. You don't makabel somebody else's Chochma. But our dish is phasing up. Our antennas are up. We're listening to new. So, a person should always have two aspects to them. Hapana rishain, who hisbaided dusai b'kainai k'dei lahaisif b'chachmasai u'lusakna. One can always be recharging their chachma. We need to think about how to do this, or what it means even. But one can always be recharging their chachma. I have a feeling, and I don't want to. I'm afraid to use words that others use, because you right away start thinking of the wrong thing. But I have a feeling that this is a meditative state. Meditation. What I mean by meditation, I don't necessarily mean sitting with your legs crossed. But what I mean by meditation is the ability to be makabel, to focus, to get away everything which is disturbing. And to be able to, because you can't listen to your car radio in the tunnel, it just doesn't go. You have to get away. You have to remove all the resistance. And I think that's what at least Jewish meditation is, that you're bringing in. Probably the Chasidim Rishonim Hayushayin Shah Achas Kodim Tfilasam. What were they doing there for Shah Achas, an hour before Shemona Esrei? They would meditate. So the meditation is now I'm being makabel before I'm articulating anything. If you don't do that, so then, which nobody does, I mean, who can do that? But if you don't do that, so then what you're doing is you're running dry a little bit. You're not being makabel new. So this purpose of this is he's supposed to do so. Let's call it meditation, bekono, and as creator, not thinking about Hashem. It's not about thinking about Hashem. That's weird to think about Hashem. I mean, to think about what Hashem is, who knows what Hashem is. But thinking about how to be makabel this chachma, to be inspired. See, nothing is original. Everything's coming from someplace. Kidei lahosif b'chachma, and now I have more chachma. I have new chachma. Ulasakna. This is so interesting. I could be masak in the chachma I have too. You can tweak your Chochma. This is the Chochma I was given. I could tweak my Chochma. Hasheni, now the second part of a person is L'lamed b'nei adam me'oisei ha'chochma she'akadosh baruch hu ishbi olav. Now I've got to take that Chochma and bring it down to people. Everybody has some different piece of Chochma. Same chelkeinu b'serasecha. Everybody has a different piece of Chochma that they can get and give. This is the contribution that we have to make. If you don't do one or you don't do two, you haven't done anything. You haven't fulfilled your obligation in this world. K'mosha Chochma. Now another chiddush, which is unbelievable. K'mosha Chochma mashpas el kol sfira usfira. So here he gives us an easier lashon, not mashgeches, but it's mashpia. What does the word shipua mean? Like a roof, yeah? So the rain falls on the roof, and then this water comes down the roof and falls down onto the garden or wherever it falls. So that's the shefa. The word shefa in shipua is the same word. It's coming from a high place and coming down to a low place. Right? So Kamosha Chochma Mashpas, so in the Shemayim, in the Keser, so the Chochma is Mashkeches. In our world, the Chochma is your Mashpia. Mashpia doesn't mean you're coercing somebody to do something or you're even talking them into it. It's that I'm sharing some of my Chochma with you.
What's the mashkiach? What's the essence of it?
In other words, in Shemayim, everything is perfect. So when a Kadosh Baruch Hu's Bria, what the Chochma is doing is it's lighting up mashkeches. It's lighting up that which is under it. In our case, a person could be a golem. So it becomes our job to have the shefa bracha coming down and raining into this world. Tell a story that Rav Hutner, Zatzal, came to Eretz Yisrael. So when I was here, like 1972, 73.
The TWA affair?
Huh?
Before the TWA affair?
Right after.
Right after.
Right after.
That was after you came back. He came into Eretz Yisrael.
He came to Eretz Yisrael and he started yeshiva after that. Not the day that he came back from Jordan, but he was here. So he went. He was at Eretz Yisrael. So he went to the tish of the at that time new Belzer Rebbe. It was a young Belzer Rebbe, like a young meaning he was. Belzer Rebbe was just a little older than me, so we're talking about now 1970. So he was the new Belzer Rebbe, a young guy, had a little kid sitting next to him. He was a young fellow. But the Rav Hutner went there because there was a yahrzeit, a tish, for Rabbi Belzer, his grandfather. It was a tzaddik Yesod Olam, so he went. So Rav Hutner came in, and well, none of you saw Rav Hutner probably, but I have a kesher with him. But he was a melech, big melech. He was a melech, and he came with an entourage. He sat up at a Belzer Rebbe's tish, and it made like a tumble, and the Belzer Rebbe wanted to be mechabed him. So he could have been the Belzer Rebbe's grandfather. Right? So the Belzer Rebbe wanted to be mechabed him, so he sent him some shirayim. So Rav Hutner, who was very, very smart and had a deep Hasidic background, it wasn't like a chiddush to him. So he said, "Was ist das?" What is this that you're giving me? So the Rebbe said, "Shirayim." So he says, "And what's shirayim?" So the Rebbe said, it was a new Rebbe, he said, "A little bit of my chachma is going to you." So Rav Hutner said, so he says, "Im kain, it's a suda sheina maspekes l'bala." Should give it away if you don't have enough for yourself. Okay, that's the Omek HaDavar. The Yeshivish story. The Omek HaDavar is like when you're being mashbiya, you got to be. This has to be appropriate. The shefa has to be appropriate. What's the? Just tell you another joke, but it has Omek to it. I think that when I was in what's the name of the city at the bottom of Florida there?
Miami, Tampa.
Key West.
Key West.
Yes, I went to Key West once because I was I went to be Besader Kedushin in Key West, so I took a tour of Key West. You know, this silly little train, and the guy tells you all kinds of things about Key West. Yeah. Key West is like 40 miles away from Cuba or something. So, there's always Cubans swooping over to the United States. This is where they do it, this is where it is. So one of the things he shows is the municipality, the area building of Key West, which was built when they first came there. So the roof is made out of this beautiful, shiny, solid copper. So the tour guide explained that these were all Dutch immigrants that came over to Florida, and they built things exactly the way, they built them there. They used the Chochma that they had there. They put it over here. So there wasn't enough water in the Netherlands, so they had these copper roofs that would get very hot from the sun, and then when it would snow, so it would melt the snow, and you would get water. And that's how they got water. So they used that Chochma in Key West. So I raised my hand and I said, but it never snows in Key West. What's the point of this exercise? The tour guide's on this train with all these people. Says, nobody ever asked me that. This is like, it doesn't snow in Key West. This is ridiculous. Okay, so what's the obek here? The obek is that Chochma has to be appropriate to the makabel of the Chochma, otherwise the Chochma is silly. The Chochma, so we're getting our hispoidus, our meditative Chochma from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Flip the cup and give it down, says the Tomer Devorah. Ken yashpia, k'moy sha'chochma mashpa'as al kol sfira kifi shi'ura v'tzarcha. Chochma should only go down into this world, into the world of spheres, according to the madrega of its makabel. B'chol adam, ken yashpia b'chol adam, kifi shir sichloi. So too, one's chochma that they're makabel should only be given over to the next level, to the makabel, your children, your teacher, yourself, asher yuchal seis v'anoisei levatzorcha, only according to what he can be makabel. V'yishamer, and you should be very careful, milaseis yoser mishir seichel hamushpa, that you shouldn't be mashpia more than the mushpa can handle. Who thinks about this?
That's why we only
Shaloi timashech mimenu takola, because otherwise you'll have a takola. Shekain hasfira halyona einoi moisefas al ashir hamugbol b'makabel. What's the takala over here? Very simple. I'm going to take this machine. I'm saying if I plug it into this plug, it's good. Kal v'chomer. If I plug it into a 2,000 volt, that'll be a very good. Like it'll really work on steroids here, right? It'll be really, really cool. No, blows up. You can't. Something has to be a kli to be makabel, and if it's not a kli to be makabel, not only will it not be makabel, but it'll be misakel. It'll be a takola in that thing. There's only so much chochma that we can take. There's only so much chochma that our children can take. There's only so much chochma that our talmidim can take. There's only so much chochma. So no matter what you have, just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes the Ein Sof and makes it finite for us because we can't deal with the Ein Sofi, so too we have to take whatever it is that we're makabel, and when we're teaching it or giving it over, we have to give it over on a level that can absorb. Otherwise, you're overwatering the plant.
That's why we can't learn Kabbalah until we're 40 years
old. So that's why I can't learn Kabbalah when you're 40. I became 40, nothing happened. Same as 39. But the point of 40 is Bina. What is 40? Arba'im Shana Labina. Bina is the Davar Makabel. It's all about if you can be makabel. Or the words of the Shulchan Aruch, Tamale Kreisoi, B'shasu Paiskim. When should you be Matayel B'Pardes? When you're Male Kreisoi B'shasu Paiskim. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. That's when you should learn Kabbalah. Male Kreisoi B'shasu Paiskim. You're full. Male Kreisoi. You're full with Shas and Paiskim. On that you can pour some Kabbalah. You don't eat dessert before the meal. Now here's the thing with this, that some people get full on one piece of bread. Some people get full on 10 pieces of bread. So Malay Kresa is not is a subjective shear. Malay Kresa doesn't mean you finish Shasa Paiskim, but I have enough Shasa Paiskim in me. That's the Shasa Paiskim that I can handle now. So now I can put this Pardes in it. So that's the union of Kabbalah. But you see, I want to explain. I'll give you a mashal, like something that I saw with my own eyes in history, and that is like let's say the Baal Tshuva movement, which I was very much part of in the no saint sense. Right? Before there was Aish, before there was Arsaveach, before there was only Chabad, basically. So that was basically there was a couple of yeshiva here or there that did kiruv per se. It's so much. I don't even like the term kiruv. I don't think it's the derech. But let's say the idea is you're taking people, good men and women that are not used to hearing Torah, and not used to the whole concept of growth, and you're giving them something, giving them the Chochma Hashem. It's not about proving something to them. That's silly. I mean, okay, good, but it's about giving over mashpia.
Seed.
Being mashpia. If there was when this all started, in the 60s, 70s, and I'm saying this is a mashal, we're so anxious to create the product that gave much more electricity than the appliance can handle. It meant much more water than the plant can handle, and much more chachma and much more madrega, assuming that it was a real madrega even on our part, to what the makabel was able to hear. So what happens is that it feels good at the beginning, because you're getting so much chachma, like instant tzaddik. But we know that that's not the way it works. We know it takes years and years, maybe even generations, to become a tzaddik. It's a big avodah to become a tzaddik. So if the makabel is makabel more than what they can accept, more than what they can absorb. So then what happens is not only do you have a spillover, it doesn't go anywhere, you have a takala. So what happened, fast forward 10 years, and people are looking in the mirror and seeing themselves like, who's that?
You have a kilkel in the kli.
It's a kilkel. The kli is not holding by such thing.
He's breaking.
He's breaking the kli. And what happens, so much, you can lose everything. Because you have a hole in the kli. You can lose even one part that's supposed to be there. So you got to be. I'm just saying. I believe personally. I know this is very radical, but we're a small crowd of 345. But there's
True.
Yeah, there's a mistake. It was a mistake, and part of the mistake was that you sort of like, if you were in this world, you got points for for making somebody into a Baal Tshuva. Well, you come with your Baal Tshuva, but how take a look at it 10, 20 years later. And now I'll tell you just something else. On the other hand, and again, this is just my thing, but I think this is what he's talking about here. I think this is exactly what he's talking about. On the other hand, there were people that were able to become tzadikim, Baal Tshuva, and many of them came from a background of they were already very spiritual. So their kli was a bigger kli, even if they were Hindus or Buddhists or whatever they were. But they were open, back in the 60s, you had a lot of different kinds of people. So they had a big kli.
Rabbi Akiva.
Rabbi Akiva, very good. Like it was a big kli. So sometimes you meet somebody who's like a big kli. You also have to be very careful. You need a big chacham to know who's a big kli and who's not a big kli. But sometimes you have this. I always said that, like, if I came across a vegetarian, I knew I could be matzliach and being makar, because first of all, it doesn't have all the timtum on nefesh of the treif. That's first of all, it's a clean kli. It's a clean kli. But second of all, it's already a bigger kli. You're talking about somebody who's sensitive to the world around them, thinks before they stick something in their mouth. Thinks where this is going, somewhere it's coming from somewhere. So you already have a matzah of no saying makabel. So you end up being makar. I mean, in my little bit of kiruv, you end up being makar of people that were at a much higher madrega than I was in many areas. They might not have the knowledge, but on a much higher madrega. And that's like the real culture shock of going into this field. That like, I'm teaching you, but you're more than me. Like it was big. This is a very, very big. It's a very scary. It's a very scary thing. So But like even today, where your funding is dependent, the way the Kira world works, your funding is dependent on how many people did you make Shomer Shabbos, how many people did you get to go to yeshiva. It's wrong. The whole thing is wrong because it's retarding the whole system. It should be just a very simple thing that Ahavas Yisrael. Ahavas Yisrael means that if I was privileged to a certain amount of Chochma, whether it's through my hispidus or my education. So share it with an achayid. Be a nice person, share it with another person. You could share it with a person on the bus, at the bus stop, at the post office, wherever you are. Just share a little Torah. That's what it really is all about. Everything else is, you shouldn't get funding for that. It's silly. It's silly. So this is really what he's talking about. So let me just take 2 minutes to tell you something else on this subject. The Mishnah says, here's a thought. The Mishnah says, Perik Mishnah, Perik Avos, Perik Gimel, Mishnah Tes. From Chanina ben Daisa Omer. From Chanina ben Daisa Omer. Kol shemaisa merubin mechachmasai. Chachmasai miskayemes. V'chol shechachmasai meruba b'maisa, ein chachmasai miskayemes. Pashat of Pshat is, the way we learn Pshat when we read it, is that there's certain people that are like philosophers, and they like to learn and they like to philosophize. When it comes to doing, they don't do too much. Like they're not lamaisa, So that's the pashup pshat. The pashup pshat is that your chachma should not be more than your maisa.
Aristotle.
Aristotelian idea,
Right.
like it's all here. Philosophers. Yeah. That's what philosophers are. That's what the word philosophy means. That it's all here. What I do is not really the issue. So the pashup pshat in the Mishnah is that your chachma should not be more than your maisa, meaning boost up your maisa. So I want to suggest the following: that it means, let's turn that completely upside down. It's not that you should boost up your maisa. Maybe you should lower your chachma. Chachmasai meruba mimaisa means that the chachma has to be matim to the maisa. See, the first pshat is emes, because nasa v'nishma. Our maisa comes before the chachma, nasa v'nishma. This was a secret that Klal Yisrael was able to intuitively know, that nasa v'nishma first we should do. You see even by Moshe Rabbeinu that when he picked up his hands, his maisa were higher than his head, so they were winning Amalek. When he put his hands down, the answer is yes, that our maisim are bigger than our machshav, emes. But the omek hadavar, according to the Tomer Devorah, I think, is that chachmasay meruba mimaisav is not good because it makes a takala. Putting overwatering the plant is not good. Like this is the chiddush here, that the chachma that we have should then be taken slowly, should be absorbed within us, and should become who we are and what we are. And if your chachmasa is meruba mimaisav, so that means that you're plugging a 9-volt thing into 1,000 volts. It's not something, and it'll break the kli. It'll break the kli, like Penny says. It'll break the kli. It'll make a shvira in the kli. So this is terrible. So look, there's a lot of levels to this. There's levels of our children, there's levels of talmidim. If you have talmidim, there's levels of ourselves. But the thing of it is, you hear something, you need to absorb that thing. So there's the hispidus. You need to be able to absorb the thing, and you got to be very careful. Like when you're watering a baby plant, you got to be very careful. You think, well, a little bit of water is good. A lot of water must be much better. No, you drown it. Like you can't. You drink a cup of water. It's good. You go into the ocean. It's good. You have to know what's right and what's wrong. So what we're talking about here with the pan ha'elyon and the pan ha'tachton and the chachma and the maisim is the matim, the appropriateness of going down and mashkiach hakol asfiros. So this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing. He's taking something. If it would be too much, you see, when Klal Yisrael came to Har Sinai, they said, we don't want to be here. This is too much for us. That's what they said. But Nobus, we're all just going to die. This says in the pasuk, that we're all going to die if we come to Har Sinai. They were right. B'schus. Moshe Rabbeinu came to the Sneh, I asked her, Moshe Panav, like, yeah, this is way too much for me, Moshe Rabbeinu said. Ubeschus, I asked her, Moshe Panav, that he was Zocha to the Or Elyon, says the Gemara, was Zocha to the Nevuah of Har Sinai. That's why I asked her, Moshe Panav. It's all about appropriate, not jumping to madrigas where we don't belong. On the other hand, not underdoing ourselves. It's such a science to figure out the exact amount, the appropriate amount, and you can't be grub about it. This has to be done with a dropper, not with a spoon, not with a cup. This is with a dropper. This is microscopic. What our children can be makabel. Just while I'm on my what happens when you take kids and you try to put on them more than they're bichlal holding by?
They break.
They break. Yeah. It's because it's not like what is this? All the stuff. What is it? Now, doesn't mean the stuff is not good stuff. It is good stuff. But is that where the kid is really holding? Or is there something selfish there? I'm doing this for myself, or it looks good, or it's common for me. Yeah. So you got to be very, very careful with this kind of a thing, because what's your mashpia can't underdo it, and you can't underdo it. But it has to be. The thing is, it has to be real. It has to be absorbed, and when it's absorbed, a little bit more. That's absorbed. It's absorbed. Every mashal, right? Everything in the bria is this way. It's not even mashal. Everything in the bria is this way. You can't put too much stuff in the IV. You can't put too much oil in your car. Everything is the same thing. It has to be able to be absorbable. And if it's not absorbable, so that's the pon ha'elyon transforming to the pon ha'tachton and going through this process where it now becomes appropriate for everything underneath it.